Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me is nobody, because this is just an intro to what's going to happen. So, Academy Rewind, one of our other Thought Bubble audio shows, took a bit of a hiatus, but it is coming back, baby, at the beginning of July. July 1st, as a matter of fact. We will be reviewing the Sevens decade, so that's 2017, 2007, 1997, so on and so forth. And so, in honor of such event, we are giving you a look back at one of our most popular episodes, the 1998 episode, Best Picture nominees. So, the films that Palmer and I talk about in this episode will be As Good as It Gets, Good Will Hunting, LA Confidential, The Full Monty, and of course, the 1998 winner, Titanic. And so, if you like what you hear on this episode, head over on July 1st to Academy Rewind, and you can listen to us talk about the 2017 winner, La La Land. No, just kidding. It was Moonlight. I know that. Everybody knows that now. We'll never forget it. And so, without further ado, here is Academy Rewind, Palmer and Tim, talking about the 1998 Best Picture nominees. Cheers. Hi, and welcome to Academy Rewind, the fortnightly podcast taking a look back at the Oscar nominees from years past. I am Tim, and with me, as always, is the 1998 unsinkable Palmer. How are you today?
I'm good. That second take is much better than the first take.
Wasn't it better? You were offended with the first one when I called you good. When I called you the confidential Palmer.
Yeah, I still maintain that the unsinkable thing is a fat joke at my expense.
I'm gonna say that it's not. I think you would sink right to the bottom. And I think a very large person would be more buoyant. Truthfully,
so I'm dense is essentially
you're
now
dense.
Yeah.
Yes, I think if anybody who's been listening to the show can agree on anything, is that you are dense. That is correct. Yes, this is the second take because my cat decided to jump up on the keyboard and delete half of what we had recorded.
And we were right at the end too.
I know, we were right about to tell you the winner for 1998. So anyway, so we're taking a look back at the Oscar nominees for Best Picture in 1998. They are Good Will Hunting, LA Confidential, The Full Monty, As Good as It Gets, and Titanic. Yes. As we all know,
the winner is The Full Monty.
The Titanic.
Oh, okay.
Is the winner. Well, not the real Titanic. That's definitely a loser.
Yeah, it finished second place between the race between it and the ocean.
Yeah. The ocean or the iceberg?
Well, the iceberg was the obstacle.
Oh, I see. You know, they did some recent tests and theories show that if they had just actually rammed the iceberg, then it would have survived.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that goes against your instinct. Like,
you want to swerve out of the way.
No one ever sees like the crash coming and going, I should go head on into this.
I should just, because that'll be better for my health. Yeah, I agree. Oh, well, we don't know anybody. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Titanic is the epitome for me of Best Picture winner. You know, this is like when I first started noticing Best Picture winner, like the Oscars when I was a kid.
Yes.
And stuff like that. Like what is not really, yeah, well, I guess I was a kid. What it really means to be and take to be a Best Picture.
And this was probably the last time, like, the obvious most popular movie won the Academy Award. Like, Oscar...
I wouldn't say that.
Really?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I can't think of one since then.
Well, you don't like it, but I'm going to say 2000's Gladiator is kind of counted in that because that's a crowd pleasing movie.
Okay, maybe, but I mean, like, this movie, for all accounts, like, if this movie happens today, does it still win the Academy Award? Because, like, for the longest time, it was the biggest moneymaker of all time.
You know, I'm going to say after Return of the King, Lord of the Rings Return, I'm going to say that's the last time.
I keep telling you, just because you love Lord of the Rings,
millions of people,
nobody else does.
Millions of people.
I hate to break that news.
Millions of people love Lord of the Rings.
They're all these fictional people that you've created.
Listen,
in your mind.
Mr. Contrarian, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that other people in the world don't like it either. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a contrarian.
I don't know.
I would be the contrarian in this case, and that goes against everything. That goes against everything that you are.
It goes against my entire being.
Look, if they make Funko Pops about it, people like it. And they're in their second wave of Funko Pops. They've already made Lord of the Rings, and
they're going to be on their second wave of Golden Girls. You really want to?
No, and people love Golden Girls. That's what I'm talking about.
All right.
Anyway, we're here to talk about other movies.
Yes.
Can't wait to yell at you about Lord of the Rings for 3 episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 episodes is what I have to look forward to.
I can't wait. All right, so let's start with Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
Directed by Gus Van Sant,
yep.
Written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Minnie Driver, Robin Williams, and Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh, I do love the fact that there's no proof to you calling him Stellangrad earlier.
What are you talking about? I didn't call anybody anything earlier. You shut your face. And so, Good Will Hunting is about a man played by Matt Damon, Will Hunting. Who's a good man, living in a good year, and he is a genius. He's working as a janitor at MIT because he's pretty uninterested in doing geniusy things. He's great. He loves reading and he loves kind of showing off that way. But he's not about the academic lifestyle.
Right.
It's not what he's into. But one thing leads to another, and he kind of falls into this MIT. He kind of falls into this MIT life, and by doing so, he also has to see a psychiatrist as part of his court order because he's kind of in and out of jail and all that stuff. And so that's kind of the movie. It's his coming of age. This kid from Boston, his coming of age story.
Yes,
this kid from Southie,
which is South Boston.
Which is South Boston. Very good. Very good. You know your local geography.
I do.
The peek behind the curtain, Kat is playing around the mixing board, and we're both very nervous about what's going to happen next.
Yes, because I don't want to have to do this a third time.
Yeah. It's like we get to this exact spot, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're going to need to start over." I don't think he
liked Good Will Hunting.
He's the worst producer in the world. He's like, "I'm sorry, this is all crap. You have to do it again." It's because
at least our regular producer just thinks that stuff and doesn't say
anything.
I'm just gonna go with what I have.
Hi, Frank. So. Yeah, he's the worst. It's because you don't like Lord of the Rings, and his name is Tolkien. That's
but actually. It wasn't like. I mean, you changed his name.
Yeah, his name was Lex Luthor.
Yes,
when I adopted him, but that's a weird name to yell out lovingly. I can't do it. I have too much comic bias.
All right, so Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. It's a movie. Yeah. That I love. I'm just like, it's like a setup.
It's good.
I had not seen this movie until pretty recently, the last couple of years. I had seen bits of it, but I had not, for whatever reason, I had kind of not sat down and watched it from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Maybe when it first came out, now that I think about it. But doesn't matter.
Okay.
I love this movie. I watch it a couple times a year.
Yeah.
I think it's an extraordinarily well executed film from top to bottom. Except for the music, Danny Elfman's music is odd to me in this film. It has ethereal quality, and it like creates kind of like this dream kind of haze over everything. But it sometimes it feels like it doesn't match the film. Sometimes it does, and then sometimes it feels out of place, a little too discordant.
Yeah. I mean, I like the music, and I always forget that it's Danny Elfman until I see his name.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Danny Elfman.
No,
really.
No, you're right. It doesn't sound like him.
It has a Gus Van Sant quality.
Yes,
but it doesn't have a
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, it doesn't have a Danny Elfman. Right. And so, but I'm not sure if that's the best thing for the film.
Right.
Though I don't think it distracts from the film. I just don't think it's the best thing for the film.
So two problems with this movie.
You do like this movie.
I do like this movie. I really like this movie. You know, Ben Affleck is one of my favorite actors.
Mm-hmm. He's so good in this.
He is. He's awesome.
I mean, everybody's awesome in it.
Yes. One of the things that I found popping up this year in these movies, because
you had texted this to me.
Yeah. This movie this year is so stacked.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And
I liked all of these films.
And any other year that Titanic doesn't come out, any one of these films could win in the Academy's eyes.
Yep.
But one odd thing that I kept seeing popping up is there always seemed to be a character, no matter how important they try and make the character, even if he's the driving force of the movie, the character feels out of place in the rest of the movie. And in this movie, for me, it's Stellan Skarsgård.
Now, so I still don't understand exactly what you mean by. I still really don't understand exactly what you mean by that.
Like you have very obvious problems in the movie. Not technically. I'm just talking about like in the story, plot problems.
And by plot problems, you mean like the problem the character faces,
right?
Okay.
So
conflicts.
you have
conflicts.
Yeah, you have Good Will Hunting. Who
his name is Will, not Goodwill.
It's Goodwill. You have him.
Do you think there's an alternate version of this movie where people are just dumpster diving and they're like Goodwill hunting? You know, they're just like, get the books in the free book donation bin.
Show.
Yeah.
So you have Will who has to learn to open up. He is very closed off. Like he has his friends, but that's it. Like he doesn't have any other meaningful relationships in his life.
Sure.
And he doesn't have any real sense of where he's going. And
right.
some of that is his childhood.
Yep.
So you have that conflict to resolve.
Yeah.
You have the conflict of this psychiatrist who is, for other reasons, is closing himself off to the rest of the world.
Yep.
And they're kind of helping each other open up and try out life again for the doctor, try out life for the first time for Will.
Yep.
And then you have Stellan Skarsgård, who's the vehicle for these two to meet.
Yeah.
And he's like, he kind of moves things along, and he's like, I'm gonna find him a job.
Yep.
But his character seems unnecessary, and like the problems that they put on this character seem just to make him more important. Like I can't live with myself now knowing there's a smarter person out there than me. Like, come on. This world obviously still had Stephen Hawking, right?
Maybe it doesn't. But it's not smarter than him. It's smarter in this particular field.
Yeah.
So, like, they talk about him being like a Fields Medal winner, Stellan Skarsgård. They talk like in a field, like they say in the Robin Williams says in the film, it's like the Nobel Prize, but just for math,
right? And
they only give it every 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, so they're like it kind of telling you this guy already is a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't get the Nobel Prize or the Field Medal just for being like, I did some long division that one time, you know.
I haven't won yet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like long division. I've been doing short division. That's been my problem.
That's been my problem.
So I'm still thinking of 0 as an absolute number. So like when you're I'm kind of equating it. I mean, we're average height. We're not, but I have a friend who's 6'4", and so he's very used to just looking down at everybody because everyone is shorter than him. And so when he meets somebody who it's his own height or taller, he has no idea what to do with himself. He gets so uncomfortable because it's just not the status quo. He doesn't know what to do. And so now you've come across a guy. So now Stellan Skarsgård has come across a guy who is that like foot taller than him, and on top of that, he's not even trying. He's a kid. Like they're separated by decades. Yeah. And so I understand his position. I know what you mean by maybe like the court sets up the deal.
Yes, because he's an underage person.
He's 20.
He's 20.
He's 20.
Right. And you can easily tell that by all the bars he goes to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they do say in the they say, well, you can get it twice. One, they have there's that time where he's on the phone with Minnie Driver after his court session, kind of at the beginning of the film, and he's like, "Hey, I remember you from Juvie." Yeah, so he's A, been to Juvie, but B, he's too old for it now. But the second is at the end when they get in the car because they say like, "Oh, now that you're legally can drink."
Now that you're 21, he's been drinking all this time in a bar. These bars are horrible.
They are horrible, but it's the 90s.
Like you could just walk into a bar.
He could have had a fake ID.
Yeah,
I mean, he's definitely the kind of guy to have a fake ID.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
I still don't understand why you think that like this Stellan Skarsgård's character doesn't belong in this film.
Like his problems, don't go along with the rest of where this movie's going.
He's a plot device,
right?
So,
but it's not a plot device that seems to blend in like it's
But the idea is that Skarsgård and Williams represent the two warring halves of Will, right? Because Williams is like I'm just a regular guy, and I met my wife at a Red Sox game, and all that.
He didn't meet his wife at a Red Sox game.
He met her at the bar.
He met her at a bar and didn't go to the Red Sox game. That's not a real Red Sox fan.
You know what I mean? Yeah, well, clearly you take Will's side to that, because you've never had to go see about a girl before. It's not my fault you love drafts more than women, okay? So that's one side.
Giraffes.
I don't know. I tried to think of something weird. That's Will's. That's one side of Will, though. Like, I'm just a guy on the street, and I'm from Southie, and family is everything. Blah blah blah. Even when we're not real family.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the second half is the academic side of his brain, and that's Stellan Skarsgård. So he is necessary to the plot because they're they are representational of the two halves of his conflict.
But see, I don't think he has that conflict going on. Like he's very content not being the smart guy.
No, he's content because he thinks that they're just going to continue on with this, like, we're going to be hanging out and we're going to raise our little kids in the thing. But as Ben Affleck says to him in the film, that's great that you want that, but it's also stupid because you actually have the opportunity to do something great for the world, for yourself, for like everything. Most people do not have that.
Right.
And he's wasting it by thinking that. Not to say that like you can't still live there or be friends with these people or anything like that, but like his gift is important to the world. So you disagree with Will's choice at the end of the film?
I don't disagree with Will's choice at the end of the film because Will decides to go after the girl.
Right.
Like he like towards the end of the film, Will like finally gets beaten down by all these people saying, you got to do this for the other people because you have the opportunity, which I think is BS. But he gets beaten down by it and he chooses to take this job that he's going to hate, that he doesn't want to do.
I'm not saying that he should have taken the job and not gone after the girl or anything like that. But I'm saying like but before that time, before his conversation with Ben Affleck, like, he's not going to get the girl, and he's not going to take the job. Like, he's not going to do any of it.
See,
so,
like that to me is the best choice.
I don't think that's not a good choice at all.
Now, in my own headcanon, he drives out to California because now she's at Stanford. Which I always forget Stanford's in California.
I always think it's in New Jersey.
I thought it's Connecticut, actually.
There's a Stanford, Connecticut.
Yeah, that could be why.
Yeah.
So he drives out to California to go see about the girl. In my own headcanon, he gets there. They reunite. He kind of, like, stays out there for a little bit, comes back to Boston. She comes back in the summer, and they end up living in Boston, and they end up going on the same journey he kind of was going on just with her. Now she's added into the group.
I mean, that's fine.
That's the best way to end this
There's
movie.
nothing wrong with... I don't think there's anything wrong with him coming back or anything like that. But it would be kind of... It's just a waste of a gift and a talent, because he's doing a job that a lot of people can do, right? But he can do stuff that nobody else can.
Right. And
so sometimes it's your moral obligation to do things. So if we're reading a superhero comic, and Superman is one day like, I'm not going to save everybody.
Yeah, he did that. It was called Grounded.
Yeah, and it was terrible.
No, that was a good story.
No, it wasn't.
And
no.
I just heard Frank like hit the delete button.
Yeah,
the audio is bad, guys. You got to go redo it.
Got to redo this section. But that's not the status quo for him. That's one story where he goes, I got to stop for a little while.
No, I know, but I think you're taking it ad absurdum.
I don't think so.
Like, all right, yeah, he's really smart.
Einstein level genius. He's not really smart.
Okay, so actually,
he is. People remember his name forever. Smart.
I do want to bring this up because he seems to be very smart. Like he's able to do the proofs that Stellan Skarsgård puts on the board, and you see him in the movie. He does reading, and then even at the bar when he first meets Minnie Driver, and he kind of steps in when the guy's running down Ben Affleck.
Yeah, that part's great. I love that.
I love that part. But obviously, he's well read. Like he's very well read. The question I have for you. Is this an instance of he's really smart and he's just naturally adept at math, because there are people out there like that?
Yep.
Or, like Minnie Driver says, does he just have a photographic memory? Like, is he able to read this stuff and just remember it?
No, because the point of that conversation with that guy in the bar, the blonde-haired ponytail guy, is that guy is just spouting out what he's read and heard. It's not original thinking.
Right.
And so what Matt Damon does, what Will Hunting does in the film, is original thinking. And so, like, it's not just photographic memory, because I mean, like, you can do original thinking with photographic memory, because you take the information and then you return it out. But he's not just like, I remembered what this math proof is. I've seen it before and I'm doing it again. He's creating something new.
But it was funny that you just the way you worded that, because then you have a very similar conversation between Robin Williams and Will when he's going on about like sonnets and this and that, and like he kind of accuses Will of the same thing,
of just repeating something. Well, that's because Will, he's talking about something in life though, because he's talking about life experience, which is different than what he would be doing in.
I know
the work
contextually
world.
It's different. Like I know what the meaning behind that conversation is, but I like the fact that he's essentially calling Will on some BS that Will is probably doing on his own.
Yes, he's calling Will on the same thing that other guy was doing.
Right.
Except that guy was using it
to pick up Minnie Driver.
He was doing it trying to pick up Minnie Driver, but I think he was like ready to go out and do that professionally. Where Will, like in this professional setting, this math setting, is not doing that. Right. But he's doing it in life.
Yeah. I really like all the actors in this movie. Even even Casey Affleck. I think this is one of the few times that I like Casey Affleck.
Casey, he's so funny in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a burger. I got your stupid burger.
It's a double burger.
It's a double burger. Yeah, put it on interest.
I also
I'm gonna put it on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You'll get this cheeseburger like you got your couch, Renaissance style.
Yeah.
I really like the writing in this movie, and I remember there being a controversy at the time of this, because if you notice, one of the credited producers on this movie is Kevin Smith.
Yep.
Kevin Smith helped Affleck, and not so much Matt Damon, but Affleck has a bunch of roles prior to this in Kevin Smith movies.
Well, Kevin Smith was very involved with the Weinsteins at this point.
And right, because the Weinsteins gave Kevin his big break. Well, the controversy became, because Kevin Smith is an accredited producer on this, people naturally assumed that Kevin ghost wrote this for Ben and Matt.
Oh, really? I've never heard that before.
Yes, it wasn't like there was never any substance to it. It was just what people assumed.
It doesn't. Yeah, this doesn't feel like a Kevin Smith movie.
And it doesn't, because there's much less swearing. There's swearing, but much less of it.
It's used when it's appropriate for the. It's used when it's appropriate for the emotion.
Yeah,
but
even since then, like Affleck's gone on to write other movies.
Yep.
That have also got nominated, although he hasn't won.
No.
He hasn't won a writing award except for this movie. And then the only other Academy Award he has is the producing award for
Argo,
yeah. But like the acting is very good in this. I also like the fact that like they just made the choice decision to cast two brothers and not as brothers. They're friends. They're not they're not related. They are just friends who look remarkably a lot like each other.
You think they look? Well, I guess they kind of look like one another.
They do.
Nah. I mean, that might be part of the deal, though. It's not like they made the choice to. They wrote it. They're like, we're also going to star in it.
Right.
End of story.
Yeah.
You know.
But
interesting that Ben Affleck was also willing to take a backseat, because Chucky's not the main. He's a supporting character.
Right.
So I wonder if
I don't remember if this movie came out before or after Chasing Amy.
I think after.
All right, because Chasing Amy is like the first movie that that in my head, like, he's really the star. Like Mallrats, he's just a side character.
Chasing Amy came out in 97.
All right, so this came out a year before. So like
the Good Will Hunting came out in 98. Came out in 97. They came out the same year.
Oh, so there you go. So like Affleck wasn't a main actor at this point. Like, this movie kind of propels them both.
Well, I mean, Matt Damon wasn't really a main actor before this either.
Oh yeah, no, that's very true.
This is, I mean, he was. Here, I got it here. And then we're gonna move on from this pretty quickly. So, hey, Matt Damon was in Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
baseball fan at Fenway Park, uncredited.
Yeah,
he was in Mystic Pizza.
Yeah,
and School Ties.
Mm-hmm.
Glory Days, Cards Under
Ben
Fiber.
Affleck was also in School Ties, if I remember correctly.
He was executive number 2 in Chasing Amy.
Yes, he was.
The Rainmaker. Oh, I forgot about The Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker was before or after Good Will Hunting?
Same year.
Oh, because that is a vehicle for him. Yep. So it's funny that like, they each have their own starring vehicles the same year that this movie comes out.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, if you know, I mean, everybody knows their story. I think at this point, it's like two guys from Boston are friends. Yeah. They write a movie about being friends in Boston. They get an Oscar. It's great. It's a good story.
It's good, and the movie's really good.
Movie's great. Robin Williams won Best Supporting Actor for his role here.
Yep,
I think deservedly so.
Yep.
This also and obviously Best Original Screenplay.
Yes.
Yeah. This movie's great.
Yes.
I think it holds up too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never get tired of watching this movie.
No, I was thinking so at the end of the movie where Chucky goes to knock on the door and Will doesn't answer.
Yeah.
In today's world, he would have been just take out his phone, text, "Where you at?" Or he would have just texted him from the car and not gotten a response and been cool and drove away.
Drove off.
Then Will comes aside. No, I just overslept. Yeah. Great movie. Okay, moving on. L.A. Confidential.
La Confidential.
La Confidential. La Confidential.
No, it sounds too much like La La Land.
That's what I was.
You
That's what I
ruined
was.
this
That's,
movie
that's
for
what
me.
I was going for. Directed by Curtis Hanson, written by Curtis Hanson and Brian Helgeland. Novel by James Elroy, starring Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, Kim Basinger, Danny DeVito, and James Cromwell. Whew, that's a cast.
And the other half.
Yeah. This is a movie about three different cops in LA and how their stories converge to form one kind of conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's I don't really want to spoil this
I'm
movie.
spoiling this movie.
Okay.
It's gonna happen. So one quick aside note, we talk about Ben Affleck and Matt Damon being from Boston, winning the Academy Award. Brian Helgeland.
Oh, is that how you say it?
I have no idea. That's how I'm going with it. Was initially born in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, really?
But lived and went to school in New Bedford.
No way.
Yes. He goes to college. He goes to college at UMass Dartmouth.
That's our hometown.
Yeah. He goes to college at UMass Dartmouth, and for a time he's a fisherman in New Bedford.
What?
But he does live in New Bedford. He did live in New Bedford.
New Bedford.
Yeah.
Where are you
wow,
from?
that was.
Where are you from?
that one kind of slipped out. I'm usually very.
You're very cautious about that.
Yeah.
It's because we were talking about Good Will Hunting for so long.
So he is a hometown boy, and he ends up winning an Academy Award at some point in his career
for this film, Best Adapted Screenplay.
Oh, that's right, because it's adapted. That's right.
Yep.
But he also went on to write and direct one of my favorite movies of all time, Knight's Tale.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Same guy. I did not know that.
Yep.
Knight's Tale's a good movie.
Oh,
it's a lot of fun.
He's also done a couple movies with Clint Eastwood, and he did the Order with Heath Ledger. Pretty much the same team as The Knight's Tale.
On HBO Go. I almost watched it last night, actually.
All right, so L.A. Confidential. What did you think?
I had seen, so I thought I'd never seen this movie before.
Yes, that is.
Even though I own it, because it was like a get it for $5 on iTunes, one of those deals. And I got to a point in the film, about the third act, pretty much when Guy Pearce beats up Kim Basinger. That
beats up
or Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. I mean, and I was like, I've seen this before, and then I watched the rest of it, and watching this movie, like, I've only seen the last part of this movie. No wonder I knew James Cromwell was the bad guy right away.
Well, because it's James Cromwell.
He's not always the bad guy.
No, but
he wasn't the bad guy in Babe Pig in the City.
Wasn't he?
No, I don't think he was.
He kept those poor animals on a farm.
I don't think he was the bad guy.
Yeah. So the problem, I do like this movie.
Start with the things that you like. You always dive right into the problem
because you always give it such glowing reviews that one of us has to be realistic.
That's not true. You like this movie.
I do like this movie. Again, the acting is top notch. You have even David Strathairn, I believe is his name.
Sure,
the guy from Good Night and Good Luck,
a movie I've never seen.
Well, you will.
Well, I will. I know. That seems to be our mantra.
Yeah.
For this.
Well, your mantra at least.
Yeah.
Everyone's just really good in this movie. The set pieces work.
Mm-hmm.
You have Kevin Spacey doing his Dean Martin impersonation,
and it's quite good.
It is.
You
very
can
good.
almost see the Bobby Darin in him a little bit.
Yeah.
From
Beyond the Sea.
Beyond the Sea. Yeah.
James Cromwell's good. Although James Cromwell, to me, goes back and forth with whether or not he's
from
supposed
Ireland
to be Irish or not.
I agree.
Every so often he just throws in boyo.
Yeah.
I think this be in Boston?
I don't think. It might be the way that he. It might just be the way that he speaks, because I don't think he ever drops the accent, but it's just because his voice is kind of whispery, you can't really hear it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, a lot of the background goings on of the movie actually happened. Obviously there was a person named Mickey Conan.
Mm-hmm.
He went to jail. The assassination of his lieutenants.
Mm-hmm.
Did actually happen.
Yep.
The goon squad that kind of kidnapped Kevin gangsters that were coming into the city, beat them up and then let them go to get them out of the city. That actually happened. Like there's a lot of grounding this thing in real life, which I like.
Yeah.
And then you have this story that I feel starts off so good. Like this movie is very tense.
I think this movie does start off really well. I agree.
This movie does so good at building tension. The unfortunate thing for me is I feel like the ultimate plot when you get to the end just kind of lets you down.
Why?
Because it just feels like they needed something to have this twist. Like you needed to, initially when they were writing it, they were like, there's going to be a twist and it's going to be the cops or at least the James Cromwell character is going to be involved in this. And that's going to be the twist. And then they had to write a plot to go around it. And it feels like the twist is in there just for the twist's sake. Like instead of just being a straight whodunit movie, you needed to put in like this grand conspiracy that I don't think kind of fits in.
I can kind of see what you're talking about, but I don't know if I agree. Maybe that's because I knew going in that it was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
But you know what? No, I disagree because Kevin Spacey finds that fleur-de-lis card, and one of his and there's that it's just a tiny thread that links everything together until the end.
Oh, I'm not saying that there's no link. I'm just saying I feel the way the movie starts off and the way the plot starts off, I would have liked a better turnout than what I got. Than it just being it's corrupt cops.
Oh, I guess. What would you rather do? What would you do instead?
I would probably play it a little bit straighter. Take out the corrupt cops. Because, other than that, essentially this story is basically Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It all revolves around a highway.
Wow, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
And then the other thing that I kind of found odd as far as character choices is all the characters there's three distinct characters. You have Kevin Spacey.
You have your rough and ready Russell Crowe.
Yep. Who's the protector of women.
Yep. Your dapper looking Kevin Spacey.
Okay, that's not who I thought you were going to say, but okay.
Kevin Spacey,
who's in it to be
the
famous.
fame of being a cop, and then you have the by the book, by the numbers Guy Pearce.
Yeah, very, very important. I'm going to adhere to all the rules, and you should too.
Yeah,
and we see that at the beginning when he essentially says, "Hey, these cops beat people in custody. They are not above the law."
Right.
And all these three archetypes start out very staunch in their beliefs.
Yep.
And then at some point in the movie, each archetype switches to somebody else.
Yeah, it's very clever that way. That's what I liked about it.
Is it clever, or is it just the characters don't have enough belief in their convictions?
No, I think it's clever. I think the movie sets up their belief well. Kevin Spacey's relationship with Danny DeVito.
Yep.
At Hush Hush. Yep. Guy Pearce's reaction to basically everything that happens all the way through the course of the film.
Yeah.
And then Russell Crowe's kind of roguish Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon kind of vibe. Because he brutally, every time there's a woman in trouble, it's always him, and there's always it's always his protector. This protector kind of mode that he goes into, and it does it a couple of times. It doesn't just show it once for every character. It shows all these situations multiple times to really hammer this thing home. And so I think the conspiracy part of it is what makes them start to falter.
Yeah.
And so, everybody has convictions until they're not important anymore. or they're so it's hard for people to it's hard for a lot of people to stick with them completely, and the way that they're written at the beginning is so narrow in their convictions. I think for them to actually to feel like real people, they actually need to break they need to break them.
Okay. I didn't understand the running joke of I don't need Exley.
No help, but I don't know what you're talking about.
The character Exley.
Which one's that?
That if I could think of the actor's name,
I can't help you.
I would say
I've only seen
he's
this
the
movie
main
once.
character.
Guy Pearce.
Thank you. I can't figure out the running joke of the glasses with Guy Pearce.
I got it. I actually wrote this down. He's the only one on the force that wears glasses.
Okay.
He's the only good cop. So he's the only one that, quote, sees clearly.
Okay. So pretty much the cops are telling him, take off the glasses because
you're seeing the line, and the line should be blurred because they all blur the line that they cross, and he's the only one that actually sees it. That's why I mean this movie's very clever.
Oh, this movie, like I said, this movie's written well and in a year that has so many good movies, like I had to go above and beyond to find problems in the movies. Otherwise, this would be an hour episode of us just going, "It's great, next movie. It's great, next movie."
If you want that, you got to listen to Beer with Geeks with me and Frank.
Yeah,
the podcast where we love everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though you shouldn't.
That's not true. That's not true. Actually, our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 podcast, I'm pretty down on it.
Since when? Every time we've talked about this in a group, you never back me up.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
No.
Yes, I do.
I don't think you ever...
I said it's very samey and kind of boring.
You mysteriously disappear whenever you have to be negative.
Look, I told you I ordered too many smoke bombs, and I have to use them somehow.
So, I do really like the writing in this movie, and there's, aside from the very ending, where I feel like I wish they would have had a different resolution and a couple character choices, this movie's really good, and if you haven't seen it, and you like noir, I like saying noir. I know it's noir, but just when people who say noir because they just think that's how it's pronounced,
okay.
I hate them so much.
Oh, so now you say it ironically.
So I say it ironically. But yeah, if you like noir movies, this is a very good movie.
Looks great. Love this movie. Yeah.
And probably... No, I would still say Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is better than this.
Good movie.
But this is a very well acted movie, even though I don't agree with
Basinger winning the supporting actress. I didn't get it. Why did she win?
Yeah.
I need to bring this up now. Okay. I'm gonna supersede this. So best supporting actress nominees this year were Joan Cusack for In and Out, Julianne Moore for Boogie Nights, Kim Basinger for LA Confidential, for which she did win, Gloria Stewart for Titanic, she was Elderly Rose, and Minnie Driver for Good Will Hunting.
Yep.
I don't know why Kim... she's good, she's fine, but I don't know why she won.
I think this was an instance of they wanted to give her an award, and they hadn't yet, because she's a big star back around the time of this movie. Yeah. And she's a big star that's now relegated to a supporting role in this movie.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, look, she swallowed her pride to have this role that doesn't really have meat to it.
It doesn't have a lot to do. That's what I mean. It doesn't really have a lot to do.
Yeah. You could take the character out.
No, you can't. Because the mystery involves her too much, so you can't actually take the character out.
Can't you? They killed off the other one.
You can't take her out.
I was going to say, can you replace, instead of having two of them, because there's two that we meet, can you just have that one person, but they do kill her off at the beginning,
which also prompts more of the investigation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So I could see that. Danny DeVito is really good in this movie.
He's very good in this movie.
And he only shows up a little bit, but when he does show up,
it's great. He's always good. I think aesthetically, there's a really nice sheen to this film. Mm-hmm. Even though this is a dangerous place, I want to go to 1950s LA. It just looks cool.
Yeah. And this didn't. thinking about it now, like this doesn't have the classic like cop noir music trope.
No, it doesn't.
Which I really like.
No, it's a fun soundtrack.
Yeah.
More than anything, it's really more of a soundtrack than a.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a soundtrack. I was on the wrong page. This is Jerry Goldsmith's score.
Okay.
So it's a lot of brass. It's like a lot of that. So it's good. I mean, I love Jerry Goldsmith. He's one of my like most favorite forgotten composers, if that makes sense. Like you never like people are like, oh, John Williams, Hans Zimmer. And then the conversation stops, and I'm always like, Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith's pretty great. So is James Horner. Do we want to talk about these guys? They're amazing.
Well, we will talk about him in this podcast.
Yes, we will. So Jerry Goldsmith's amazing. Anyway, moving on. The Full Monty, directed by Peter Cataneo, written by Simon Beaufoy, starring Robert Carlyle, Tom Wilkinson, Mark Addy, and William Snape. Not related to Severus in any particular way. This is a film about some down-on-their-luck gentlemen from an ironworking town in England, and they all go to the unemployment center basically every day to look for jobs because there are none.
Well, one looks for a job.
Tom Wilkinson looks for a job. Everybody else is sitting around complaining about how there are no jobs, even though there do seem to be some jobs that they just don't want to do. And so Chippendales comes to town, and all the women are very excited, and the men get jealous, and so they hatch this scheme to do their own version of it to get money.
Yep.
That's this movie.
That is this movie. One of the things that I would say right off the bat is
not for children.
This movie this entire movie feels out of place in this field.
I agree.
This feels like an 80s movie.
It does feel like an 80s movie, but it's also a foreign film. Like, not even because it's a British film.
I know it's a foreign film because I didn't understand half of what they were saying.
I know you said that. I understood everything.
There are two kinds of British accents. There's the knee-weakening, heart-melting accent that you get when you get like Minnie Driver and Good Will Hunting.
I actually hate her voice in this movie.
And that's because you're a horrible human being. And then there's whatever the hell this was.
It's local accents is what it's called, or they're regional accents. So most British actors, so when they go through school to be an actor, they used to be taught to lose their accent. They had to change their voice to become classically British.
Right.
So like if you like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, like all these guys, that's not how they learned how to speak. That's acting school teaching them how to speak. Acting, exactly. Fingers in the air, acting. So that's not what they sounded like when they were kids or whatever. That's school did that to them. And so they don't do that. They don't do that anymore. Actually, people do learn how to talk like that, but it's not like the way that like they whip it out of you. Like, don't write with your left hand, whip it out of you, you know? But again, this is like, it would be like, I mean, we do it in America too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're from Boston,
you lose that accent.
You lose that accent.
Yeah. Unless it's part of like the charm of your, like you create a persona around it, like, like De Niro or something like that, you know? Otherwise you lose it.
Or if you only do movies where your guy is from New York, like De Niro.
Well, I was thinking even Holly Hunter is a great example of that because she has a wonderful Southern accent, and she like it's part of her charm. But most people can't do that. They can't get away with that.
Yeah,
it's no different.
Okay. So yeah, this movie feels like it's an 80s movie.
Not necessarily a bad thing. I liked this movie. I'd never seen it before. It was one of those movies I walked away from going, I had a good time. I don't know why you were nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, I can't figure it out either.
Especially in the lineup of these other films.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't get
Yeah.
I just didn't get why.
Tom Wilkinson, I think, is really good in this movie.
Tom Wilkinson is good in every movie.
Yeah, but and it's funny that we have 2 movies in 2 subsequent episodes with him.
Yep.
And like
what good years that man had.
Yeah. And it's always a different character.
I can't wait till we get to Rush Hour.
Like this one's a little bit more, straight. He's a very straight-laced person.
Yeah,
he's the responsible one of the group.
I think my note in this for the let me see though. I can't. My overall view of this film, I can't believe what they made Tom Wilkinson do in this movie. But I mean, it's oddly heartwarming and fun. It can be quite funny, but you have to. It's a dry sense of humor. It's a British sense of humor. So if you don't have one, then you're not going to get it.
This movie hinges on whether or not you like the main character.
If that's true, and he's
just a horrible human being.
Yeah, he's not great. And he's really not even great by the end. I find him kind of
he's just naked at the end. The difference between him at the beginning and him at the end is he's naked.
I think that, and he's nervous about it. I think there's like a, I don't know, like there's a weird charm to him, but like just like he's barely passably likable.
So you hit a thing for me. You said he's nervous about it.
Yep.
He's the one who has this idea.
Yeah, of course.
And he's the one who's pushing all these people to do it.
Yeah.
And he's not nervous in the general sense of, well, I'm going to go on stage and people are going to see me naked. He's only nervous because there are now guys that he knows in the audience that he's afraid will make fun of him.
That's right.
I dislike this character so much that it kind of ruins the movie for me. Like he's jobless. Okay, that happens. He goes to this place to try and help find him a job, and he just kind of goofs off. His ex, who's like, I can get you a job, and he's like, oh, doing sewing for $250, which I don't know around this time if $250 was a lot.
I want to say that it wasn't.
Well, this was also in England, so I don't know what the conversion rate is.
It's about you kind of almost double.
So
actually, about this time, it was minimum wage for us was $5.
It's a little bit less. It's half of what minimum wage is in the States.
Yeah,
but is that normal for a starting wage?
Yeah, but
in England?
if you double, because if you spend $250 and so even now if you spend $250 in England, you spend about $5 here.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's equal.
It's just about equal.
So he just didn't want that job.
Right. Well, Mark Addy's character didn't want the security guard job either.
But he became a security guard.
Right.
Now, granted, he gets talked into leaving it.
Yeah.
Like it's
no,
weird because
I
it
agree.
seems like I'm arguing both sides of the fence. Like I don't argue with Goodwill Hunting saying
his name is just Will Hunting.
No, it's always
first
Goodwill
name is
Hunting.
not good.
I don't argue with him saying I'm not going to take that job because I don't want to do it, because he had another job. Like he had the job on the
Expressway,
the construction crew with Chucky.
Right.
Like he had another job, so he had the choice of saying I don't want to do that job.
Sure.
These guys don't have a job. You don't get the choice at that point.
Yeah, I agree. And then they screw up Tom Wilkinson's job, like actual chance of having a real job.
No, he ends up getting that job.
Yeah, but they screw him over the whole movie.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
So, like, if you don't like Robert Carlyle's character, it's going to make it very hard to like this movie. And
I agree.
think that's the biggest problem.
And I don't think that's Robert Carlyle's fault, because he's a very good actor. I think it's the character. I don't think it's a very redeemable person.
Correct. And he plays him smarmy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help. It's not like, oh, he's playing him so cute.
Yeah.
Like, he plays the character like this character should be played. But I don't understand why you would like this character.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of fun watching Mark Addy do all of this, because he's real fun in this.
Yeah.
Mark Addy played Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Yes. And he also plays
the friend of Guy Pearce in The Time Machine. You're correct.
And the friend of Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale.
Yay! We did it. We connected all of the movies together. Hooray!
Yeah,
that was fun. This movie won Best Music, Original or Comedic Score. So I would
comedic score.
That's what it says. That's what the thing is
for the Oscars.
Yep. So I was wondering
when we lost comedic score.
One that, but two, I was wondering if some of this music was created for the film, because there are a lot of popular songs in here, and I wonder if they're movie original and they're popular because of the Full Monty.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I wasn't sure, and I really didn't want to do the research. Somebody else can do it.
Because two songs that stand out to me is "You Can Leave Your Hat On," which is by Tom Jones, I think.
Sure,
that might have been, but I don't know enough to I only know that because of the movie,
right?
And then the other well-known piece of music is, I think it's "The Entertainer," which is the stripper music that they play. Not
the Scott Joplin piece.
No.
What a weird. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, when the band that plays it, and that I'm almost positive is not created for this movie.
Interesting.
But aside from those two things, I couldn't tell you a lick of the music.
I've already forgotten them, to be honest.
Yeah, so
doesn't matter. It won. Good on it. Yeah. It's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about right now, As Good as It Gets.
Ooh.
What are you doing? Scratching
I'm
yourself?
getting my notes.
Did Lassie fall down the well? No.
Yes.
Oh.
All right, so give us...
Get it? Because I'm Timmy,
give us
so Lassie would have fallen down the well? Yep. Get it?
So give us the writer, the director, and the actors, and I will introduce this film after that.
Oh, God. Okay, sure. As Good as It Gets, written and directed by James L. Brooks, also written by Mark Andrews. Starring Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, Cuba Gooding Jr., and Greg Kinnear.
All right. This movie is about an eccentric and lovable man who is very selfless and helps everyone he can, and two mean people who try and force him to change.
You really connected with Jack Nicholson in this movie,
much.
didn't you? I would say reverse that. It is about a very self-centered man who learns to be selfless through being forced to be helpful to people by Cuba Gooding Jr.
I think you saw a completely different movie.
I don't think so. I don't think it's not really Greg Kinnear that forces him to be helpful. It's Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes, it is,
which is great.
I loved Cuba Gooding Jr.
Me
in this
too.
movie.
He was
I
great.
wish he had more.
I forgot how much I like him.
Yeah, I wish he was in it more. So this movie is good. It's not great.
I
don't love this movie as much as everyone else does.
You know what's funny? I haven't seen this movie in so long.
Yeah,
and boy, is this movie long. It's almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't. It's a movie that is like most James L. Brooks movies. It all hinges on the script and the cast, and everything else is whatever.
Yeah. This movie hinges on
and his trio. He's normally got a good trio.
Okay, it's funny you brought that up.
Yeah,
because I feel this, and I think when I text you the whole thing about people not belonging in the movie, this was the movie I was watching when I texted you it. I feel Greg Kinnear, his character. Now, yes, it's the driving force of why they go on the road trip.
You just don't like driving forces because Stellan Skarsgård's the same thing. He's the driving force of why all these things happen.
But he's only in the movie to push it forward. He doesn't feel natural in this movie.
Some characters are there to do that.
Yeah, but they should feel natural. And Greg Kinnear's character in this doesn't feel like he belongs in the rest of the movie.
Okay.
And at times, it feels like the only reason he's in there, aside to drive the plot forward, is to give a target for Jack Nicholson to make gay jokes.
Yeah, uncomfortable. Yeah.
You know, like his character doesn't have depth.
Greg Kinnear's?
Yeah.
I disagree. That whole thing with his family and his Like, he's well.
It comes off very, very.
I don't think he's set up well enough before he's attacked.
Because this movie is a vehicle for Jack Nicholson. Like,
Definitely.
He's the main character.
Well, sure.
And I feel like there's many ways to get where you want to go with this movie.
Yeah.
Without choosing this random Greg Kinnear character as the vehicle.
What else could you do? Again, I want to. When we get to Titanic 2, I want to guess who you think is. I want to guess what you say is the vehicle before I get there.
You could just make this more of a straight romance movie. Like, this movie tries to play with that trope,
but it's not a straight romance movie.
No, but I don't think you could do it.
So okay, so the way that Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt really connect in this film is the road trip, right?
That's when she connects with him. He's already connected with her.
I agree, but that's an essential part of the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, what else would you have them do?
If I could answer that, I would not be doing this podcast. I would be making money writing movies.
Yeah. But
doing this podcast, I get to critique other people on this.
Okay, sure.
One of the things that I really liked in this movie, and it's I've seen this movie several times, and this is the first time I noticed it, and that's towards the very beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. When we first see the Helen Hunt character, mm-hmm. and he goes into the restaurant and he's standing right at the waitress station. Yep. Now,
I love the way that they react to him.
Oh yeah,
it's so great.
It's great. So we've already established like he hated the dog.
Yep. And then he loves the dog.
And he has the weird intricacies of like he's got to lock the door 5 times. Mm-hmm. He can't step on a crack. He doesn't like touching other humans.
Yep. Yeah, he has OCD.
Right. But he gets to this restaurant. He's standing
OCD or is he obsessive compulsive?
That's what
never
OCD is.
Wow. I need coffee.
So I
know what letters mean.
He gets to the restaurant and Helen Hunt comes up behind him and touches him, and he doesn't like jump out of his skin. And it's at the very beginning of this movie.
She's the only one that he'll allow.
Right.
Wow, I didn't notice that. That's a great observation.
Yeah, and I like this is the first time I caught it. I'm like, I really love that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of sets up who she is to him.
Yeah, that's great. I do love the scene in the movie where she's like, "Why can't I have a normal boyfriend?" And she like walks away, and he walks up to say, he's like, "Boyfriend."
I really like when she just shows up at the when she shows up at his house, like, "I will not have sex with you." Yeah. Like, man, if I've ever felt for a character more in that instant.
You do.
Like, if I had a dime for every time I've showed up at a person's house and yelled, "I will not have sex with you,"
you'd be in jail.
I would. Well, that too. But I would also be filthy rich.
That reminds me, you're going to have to go out the back way today because my neighbors are really uncomfortable with you now.
So, like I said, I really like Cuba Gooding Jr. Jack, to me, as great as he is in this movie, mm-hmm. always runs the problem of just playing Jack.
He's just always a little bit Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And that might be because he is, in a big way, Jack Nicholson. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How sometimes you just can't get out of your own stardom. It's that same, like, Clooney or, Pitt or, something like that kind of, like you can't get out of your own way. But he's so much more definable.
Right.
That, like, one of my favorite parts of the film is when the dog misses him, and so Greg Kinnear's like, "Oh, why don't you come here, you little?" And he does a Jack Nicholson impression. It's hysterical.
Yeah,
that it's so meta, and its impression is really good.
It really is.
It's so good.
It was funny.
I miss Greg Kinnear in films. Actually,
he's still alive. So.
I just haven't seen him in anything for a while.
He was actually he played John F. Kennedy in the Kennedy miniseries. That was really good.
I did not watch that.
Him, Katie Holmes. Oh, that's such a good miniseries.
Of course, you watched it, Katie Holmes.
Yeah. And going back to the Greg Kinnear character, I like Greg Kinnear, but I think given what he has to do in this movie, he kind of overplays it a little. Like he hams it up a little bit.
A little bit, but a little bit, but I don't know. I think I don't agree with you when you say there's characters that don't fit. I'm just like I can't even bring myself to agree with you slightly. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I've seen movies where characters do not fit, like they're in a different movie than everybody else. I don't think any of these movies are that movie. I'm
not saying they're in a different movie. I'm just saying they don't belong in this movie.
Yeah, but you don't even say like that. It's like so. Yeah, so you're not even saying like that they're acting different than they should be. You know, like I've seen characters like think like hamming it up way more than they like so like Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever does not know what movie he's in.
Right.
Yeah, and so like I've seen that.
Yeah.
And then but you're saying that like remove the character completely.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with you.
I miss Harold Ramis after watching this movie.
Remind me of who that is.
He's the doctor. He's the doctor that he's the husband of the publisher.
He's so great.
Yeah.
I do miss him in things. Yeah. Oh well.
I also like how when Helen Hunt is discussing like all of her emotions to her mother at night, and she's like, "Is it really bad that I was so upset that he was married?" Like, yes. I think the production design of this movie is great. There's so much attention to detail because there's so much attention. Like Jack Nicholson's character plays so much attention to detail, right?
Like his the way his house is organized, and like all the M&Ms and different colored M&Ms in different jars, and the way that his paper is stacked when he's writing and all that. I love that scene where the secretary is like, "How do you write women so well?" And he's like, "I think of a man and I remove
reason and accountability."
And then he just goes down the elevator. He's such an ass. He's such an ass.
I like that scene, but for a different reason, because I like as like he approaches the elevator and he hits the button and he sees her and he sees the recognition.
Yep.
And he just like starts like pounding away the button. He's like, "No, I don't want to do this. I can't do this."
You are this character in a lot of ways. But you're not much of an ass.
Yeah, no. I have an internal monologue
that's very similar to this.
Yeah.
There's that scene. I like when he goes to see his own psychiatrist, and the doctor's like, "I'm not doing this right now." And there's like a beat, and then you just see his head appear out of the door, like, "What do you mean?" Like, I'm still in your office. How can you give someone obsessive compulsive disorder and not and change your office?
And think he was arguing. He was arguing about him not keeping regular sessions.
Yep.
And he was like, "How can you diagnose me with this and think that I have a choice in this matter?"
Yeah, like that. He's like, "Well, I've rearranged my office and you didn't notice that. And I grew the hair back on my face, but you didn't notice that either because you only care about yourself."
Right.
What a doctor. Nicholson won and Helen Hunt won.
I agree with Nicholson.
I agree with Nicholson. I agree with Helen Hunt.
I think she's good in this movie. She's really good.
I think Helen Hunt's always really good.
I don't remember, aside from Kate Winslet, I don't remember who she was nominated against.
I don't think should have won. And I understand what you're going to say to that, and I have thoughts about that when we get there.
Yep.
And I love Kate Winslet, as we've talked about, like when we go back to the very first episode with The Reader.
Yeah.
Because she did win for that.
She did, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like in comparison, just in terms of like storytelling and what they have to do in the story, and what they have to get across. I think Helen Hunt is a little more subtle. Helen Hunt is she's a little more subtle just because it's the type of movie that it is. I think if Titanic is, which we'll go into now, but I think if Titanic is a different kind of film,
right,
Kate Winslet would have won.
I would just like to point out that when you said Helen Hunt does it a little bit more subtly, not only did I disagree with you, but your cat disagreed with you because I saw her shake his head no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
And he's sitting next to me. He's my friend. I just woke him up. Sorry.
So Titanic.
Titanic, also known as the Gigantic or the Colossal or whatever. You know, there were two other ships that were being built along the Titanic.
Yeah, it was the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Yeah, that's three. So not only did you get the names wrong, but you have
one of them got changed to Titanic.
Yeah. Anyway, directed by James Cameron, written by James Cameron,
edited by James Cameron.
He's actually the first director to win in all three categories in the same year. Except for in the first one in like a long time or something like that.
This is also in a 3-way tie for the most Oscars for a movie
with Return of the King,
with 11. Yeah, with Return of the King and Ben-Hur, and tied for most nominated between All About Eve, which did it with one category less available to it.
Wow.
Titanic and La La Land.
Really?
Yeah. Really, La La Land.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I like that movie. It's not, but it didn't win all of them. It didn't actually win.
They tried to.
It won the ones that I think it deserved.
They tried to steal somebody else's award.
Like that. Yeah. Anyway, we're not getting into La La Land just yet. Titanic is starring, didn't even get that far yet, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, Billy Zane, Kathy Bates. I can keep going. David Warner. Who else do I want to say?
This movie,
Bill Paxton.
Yeah, this movie has everything. This movie has love. This movie has drama. This movie has action. It has music. It has a superhero. It has a supervillain. This movie has everything. Mr. Fantastic and Ra's al Ghul.
David Warner, right? He's also in. Well, when you said superhero, it has Victor Garber, who is one half.
Oh, that's right.
He's one half of Firestorm,
and I mean, it also has the Phantom.
And you meant the Phantom with Billy Zane.
So it's got three superheroes and one supervillain.
I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of something else. So, David Warner played Ra's al Ghul in Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. He also played the Doctor in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Back from the Ooze from CCRI. He was also David Warner was also Bob Cratchit in George C. Scott's Christmas Carol.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he is kind of old.
Yeah, it's not old, but I mean, he's probably in his 50s in this movie. I think he's in his 70s or 80s now. Not the point. The point is this movie spellbound the world because James Cameron pitched this movie to executives on one sentence, and they approved it. And it was Romeo.
James Cameron.
I'm James Cameron. They're like sold. Also, what's the movie about?
How much is this movie?
Yeah, we'll get to that. It was pitched by, he said, Romeo and Juliet on the Titanic. And that's it.
I was really hoping for Romeo and Juliet in space.
I'm sure that'll come one day.
And it's funny because I was looking up IMDb today because I wanted to fact check a couple of like the Academy Award stuff, and the story synopsis on IMDb is this 17-year-old girl. I'm like, really? She's 17?
She's supposed to be 17?
She's supposed to be 17.
How old is Billy Zane supposed to be then?
Older.
Yeah.
But again, this is around that period of time where that's still kind of common.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But as soon as I saw that 17-year-old, I was like, so this is Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yep. So
that makes sense because if she's 17, she's supposed to. Yeah, because she's 100. The old Rose is 100, and this movie came out in 1997. She's 100.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Gloria Stewart died when she was 100.
I know. She was playing. She had old age makeup on.
Yeah.
She in her 80s.
Yeah.
She had old age makeup on.
So
she apparently did not like it either.
Yeah. So the character in this movie that I think you can easily take out.
No, I'm going to say it.
Okay.
I think it's Kathy Bates. I think it's the unsinkable Molly Brown.
No.
It's okay. His friend Fabricio.
Oh, that would be good.
Okay. The guy with the beard who does the simulation.
I like that guy.
Yeah, I do too. But I'm just
she's a really old goddamn liar.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for that forensic assessment.
Yeah. Mr. Bodie, I think.
Yeah.
His name is.
Okay. So I'm wrong in all of those. Okay. So it's not. Oh, it has Bernard. This movie has Bernard Shaw. No, that can't be right.
I'm pretty sure that was a writer.
Yeah. I can't remember his name. The captain.
I like the captain.
Plays King Theoden in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. And funny, they originally offered the captain role to Robert De Niro.
I know, and he was sick.
Yeah.
Or he was having surgery or something like that.
Which is good, because
it would have pulled me out.
Yeah.
It would have pulled me right out. Yeah. Because there's some actors character actors you recognize and go, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, it's
like David Warner.
Like David Warner. And I get excited every time Damon Ward is on screen.
Yeah.
But he's still a character.
Yeah.
So who do you think should be in this movie? The boat?
Yeah. I think you can take the boat out.
I think you take the boat out. They're like in Wonder Woman's invisible jet, just slightly moving across the Atlantic.
Actually, it was funny. Like, every time I watch this movie, and every time I think of this movie,
Leo
in my
doesn't
head,
belong. You just wanted to get with Billy Zane.
No. In my head, Maggie Smith is her mother. And I'm always kind of disappointed when it turns out not to be Maggie
it's
Smith.
not Maggie Smith, no.
Yeah. I really wish that was Maggie Smith.
No. But you don't think her mother belongs in this movie?
Oh, yeah, no, her mother belongs. I don't actually have a character in this one. So
this whole time.
Yeah. No, it was really just a long setup joke for the boat.
Oh, okay. I just kept naming characters. It was my own
You
fault.
lengthened it out. So this movie sits at about 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I had to. What was your reaction when you had to change the VHS tape?
I was watching on Laserdisc, so
good.
I had to change it several times.
I made the stupid mistake of rewinding it before going to the next part, and I just ruined the whole flow of the movie. I shouldn't have waited that 3 minutes it took.
But this is it's odd because the standard thing is you can't make. Although nowadays it's a little bit more common. But back then you couldn't make 3-hour movies and have them be successful.
No.
This movie proved that wrong.
I agree. Absolutely.
And this is a movie that's 3 hours that this is the second or third time I've rewatched it. Never feels 3 hours.
Sometimes it does to me and sometimes it doesn't. And that might be because I've seen it so many times. I could probably do it backwards at this point. And I like this movie a lot. I don't love this movie.
It's because you're heartless.
No, it actually has nothing to do with the love story or anything like that. Because it's the Romeo and Juliet problem. If you don't believe that these two idiots these children are in love with one another, the whole thing falls apart.
Right.
I think, or at least they think they are, or whatever. Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are very accomplished actors. Mm-hmm. I think they get it across. I think they're very young in this. He's
film. Very young looking. She doesn't look as young.
It's the clothes, I think. Part of it is the clothes, but I think they get it across. But I find the James Cameron's dialogue sometimes with them kind of it doesn't flow naturally.
Okay.
Which I know you love, but I find that some of their delivery, it seems sometimes it's just them, but their delivery is odd. And I just can't get over that hurdle. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say Helen Hunt is a little more subtle and should have won. That's why I think that it's just sometimes the delivery of Kate Winslet's lines are I don't know if I would have done it that way.
I would have.
Yeah, I know you would have.
She should have won.
Yeah. She's good.
She's great.
She's good. I thought she was a redhead for the longest time.
Yeah, she's not.
Yeah, I know.
No.
No one actually.
I thought Billy Zane's eyes underneath them were naturally that black.
Oh, he's wearing so much eyeliner. He's wearing more eyeliner in this movie than he wore when he was in the Phantom.
Yeah.
When he actually had black all around under the mask.
But
But I love Billy
This
Zane.
movie does a really good job at blending this fictional story.
Agreed.
Into this real life event. And not only this real life event, but real life characters that were on there, like the unsinkable Molly Brown.
Right. Well, even a lot of like some of the when it gets to the sinking of the ship, some of the things that some of the characters say to one another, like, this boat's for mummies and daughters. Daddy's going to take the next one. Is like that stuff that like that's a real line from somebody that said that to their daughter before he died.
Yeah,
you know? the couple on the bed.
The couple on the bed were the owners of Macy's.
Yep, I knew that.
And she had the ability to go into a lifeboat. But she had said she wasn't. We live together, so we'll die together. Yep. That line is kind of given to Rose, where she says, "Where I go where you go."
Yeah.
But obviously, the architect of the Titanic, who's the other guy,
the designer
of the Titanic,
Mr. Ismay.
Yeah. All these real people. I really like Victor Garber in this movie.
He's great.
He's awesome.
He's great in everything.
Him just kind of standing there as this ship is sinking.
It's so sad.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it's almost like the captain going down with the ship. He's like, I built this ship. I could easily probably get to a lifeboat.
Yep.
But I'm going down with this ship.
Yeah.
Like Ismay's like, I'm out.
Yeah, Ismay is the one that he was like pretty scorned the rest of his life because of that, because people knew that he hopped ship, because like almost no men made it out. So
really,
yeah. So it's like people knew what he did afterwards. So he was pretty shunned for the rest of his life.
Shame.
He's good in this movie too. I can't remember his name. I've seen him in a bunch of... The ship can't sink. I assure you,
she's made of iron, sir.
She can. Yeah.
The one thing that surprised me to no end going back and rewatching this movie some 20 years later...
told you sorry.
Some 20 years later is this movie does not get dated.
No, not really.
Those special effects look as good now as they do.
Actually,
as they did then.
Not true. There are some. Most of them are still great. There were only two spots. There were two spots where I went 90s. One of them was when the ship first sails out of the harbor, and it's a low shot to see. You see the
dolphins.
You see the little like sailboat for a size comparison, and you see like the waves kind of like rush over it a little bit. It's just once leaving the harbor.
Yeah,
the water doesn't look right. It's not quite. The ship looks great, and like the water doesn't look quite,
which is weird
right.
Because that's real water.
It's not. And not for that particular shot. And the other one when the boat is totally vertical before it goes down, when they're on top of the rails. Not Jack. It wasn't when Jack and Rose were on top of some other person. It was so visibly green screen. Like it was like black outline around people green screen. You know what I mean? Like when you're watching Return of the Jedi, and it's the Rancor versus Luke Skywalker. It's like that. Those were really the only
two scenes in a 3-hour movie.
I agree. But I'm saying
right.
So I don't think it's completely flawless, but most of the stuff that you would assume we would even do as CG today was done practically.
Yeah.
Like when water floods the stairway, that's real water.
This movie took forever to come out.
For good reason.
If I remember,
it was super over budget too.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the IMDb said this started in like 95.
Yeah, well, James Cameron
when he filmed like the dive down,
because he did a documentary about the dive, which prompted him to then make the film.
The documentary came out after,
right? But he started the documentary before,
right? And it was funny because I remember like years before this movie came out. So like maybe 2 years before this movie came out. I remember going to a Star Trek convention, and during one of the panels, they actually showed this. They showed the hallway scene where the water's crashing in and Rose and Jack are running with the kid in their arms. Like they showed that scene, and that was like 2 years before the movie came out.
Wow!
Like I had forgotten about it until I saw the movie. I'm like, oh, that's what this movie is.
Yeah, Titanic. You say?
I like the writing. I don't find the problem with the writing like you do.
It's not all of it.
No, I know.
It's like their love stuff is what feels a little jilt. It doesn't. It's got that. You're not going to agree with me.
Nope.
But I'm going to say it. It's not as bad, or in your opinion, as good. But it's got like that George Lucas, Anakin, and Padme kind of quality to it.
I love that so much.
I know, but it's not. It's not real.
Happiness is Anakin Padme dialogue in a warm blanket.
Oh my god, you're so weird. It has that kind of stilted quality to it. I don't think the rest of the dialogue does. I don't think the stuff like the modern day stuff with Bill Paxton does, and I don't think like the Billy Zane's or the family obligation stuff or the warring classes, the boat, all of that is fine. It's just not even all of it, just some of their love stuff doesn't feel.
Yeah.
It just like it has a weird vibe to it.
I would say that this is easily the greatest love story of all time.
Because it's Romeo and Juliet.
Well, I mean, it's a little different.
It's
the girl survives.
It's almost not different at all.
It's half Romeo and Juliet.
Actually, you know the door that she survived on was a real piece of wreckage. Not the one in the film, but the one she survived on, they recreated for the film because somebody else survived on a door like that.
And I hate to break it to everybody listening, Jack could not fit on that door.
The door would sink.
Right.
It has nothing to do with him having room on it. It's the weight. It's the 300 pounds that the door would not be able to. I don't understand why this is a problem and people are still talking about it. It's very simple physics.
I think it's because she says, I love you, I'll never let go. And then like 2 seconds later, she's like hitting him with an oar. Like, all right, you're dead.
Get out. Get out. Well, she doesn't let go. Technically, they're still holding hands when he's dead. It's fine.
Billy Zane is just is such an evil person.
You want to slap him so bad.
I do.
Actually, you know that scene where he flips the table?
Yeah, it was ad-libbed.
Ad-libbed?
Yeah.
So her reaction is like, like, Billy, what are you doing? Billy. That and when she spits on him is also, he did not know that was coming. She think she was supposed to slap him or something, and she spit in his face instead. He's great.
Yeah.
I think Kathy Bates, I think Kathy Bates should have been nominated, personally.
She's not.
I don't know, maybe she's not in it enough.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is like she ends up being like the character. Like if she's nominated and say she wins, it's that same problem that we have with who won Best Supporting Actress. Kim Basinger. Like she's just not enough. She's not in the movie enough. She doesn't. She affects the movie somewhat.
Yeah, well, I don't think. I mean, she's the reason he looks so good going down to dinner, which then prompts a lot of series of events.
He looks so good because he's Leonardo DiCaprio.
She's the reason. She's the reason that he's wearing a tux.
Yes.
Yeah. So he looks even better than he would. So it actually in that scene where like he leans to her, he goes like, "Which one do I use?" Start from the outside and work your way in. They film
is wrong.
It's actually it's right. But etiquette lesson that is correct. But that scene took so long to film because you have to do a lot of coverage because people at a table, you have to get reactions from everybody for everything that you're saying. Yep. So it just takes a long time. So
rather than just having like 37 cameras filming everybody.
Right. Because, the cameras would be seen by other cameras. So at the end of the day, he leaned into her and he said, which one do I use? Which one do I use to gouge my eyes out? Good stuff.
Like we said, the special effects still look superb. The practical effects I really love.
I think it's the attention to detail. I think
down to everything.
Literally everything. What some things are a little bigger in the the staircase is bigger in the movie than than in real life because people are taller now,
right?
And so they were like people would look pretty silly coming down a small staircase, and so. I'm going to take a picture of this for you to tweet out on the thing.
And so, it's...
Look at me, kitty.
I can see why this movie had such hoopla around it when it came out, and why it won so many of the technical awards that year.
Oh, yeah. But I also see why it didn't win any of the... acting awards. That's because it's like in some ways
it was so perfect.
It's almost unfair, just to sweep the whole thing.
Yeah,
but nobody. It's one of those films where nobody's better than the sum of their parts. You know what I mean? And so, I don't think Billy Zane is any better than. I think Victor Garber is any better than David Warner is any better than Leo DiCaprio or Kate Winslet. You know what I mean? I think they're all good together cohesively.
Yep.
The only one that I would actually say maybe is, but she's not in the same scenes as them is, whoever plays old Rose.
Gloria Stewart.
Yeah. Who was nominated.
She should have won.
Oldest person ever be nominated, I think. Pretty sure actually. But
Mel Streep will get there soon.
I probably would have given it to her over Basinger.
Absolutely. That being said, is there really anything else to? I mean, so it's assumed because of the way the ending's shot, she dies.
Yeah, I think she dies.
She drops the heart of the ocean in the ocean.
Do you remember that commercial, where she she drops it in the ocean and then she goes, "Whoops!" and then she goes in after it and cashes it in and just walking out all wet with the cash.
Yeah,
that's how this movie should have ended.
And then she dies in her bed on the ship in the middle of the Atlantic, kind of like she was meant to.
That's right.
And I just that end shot.
Good. Yeah,
that end shot of the ethereal version of "My Heart Will Go On."
Oh, the music. We haven't talked about the music yet.
Oh, I mean, it's James Newton Howard or James Howard Newton.
It's James Horner.
James Kitty, quick!
Yeah,
get him. Everything like before.
Get him. Yeah, it's James Horner.
James Horner's. I really like the music of this. There's the Titanic theme, not My Heart Will Go On, but the Titanic theme.
Yep.
And then there's the 37 different versions of My Heart Will Go On.
Agreed. Which James Cameron didn't want. Did you know this? James Cameron didn't want an end credits song or anything like that. And so James Horner recorded it with Celine Dion in secret. And she was like, yeah, whatever. I don't really want to do it. I don't really care, but whatever. Let's do this. Mm-hmm. They recorded the demo. He loved it so much. That's the version we have.
Nice.
Is just the demo of her.
I remember
doing
that.
It.
It was a one take thing.
Yeah. But he secretly had to to do this.
But the angelic, ethereal.
Well, my next fun fact about this is that James Cameron originally wanted Enya to score the film.
Ooh, that would have been nice.
And so he had actually cut a lot of the film to different Enya scores.
Yeah.
So James Cameron never telling James Horner this. James Horner goes off to do the music.
Yeah.
Came back with the score that he has, and he was like, "I was influenced by Enya. I think this is what's going to fit." And if you listen to it, it sounds like it sounds like it sounds a lot like a lot of high flutes. That ethereal kind of
that angelic kind of vocalization.
Yeah, that's it. They thought the same thing without ever talking to one another about it. It didn't pay Enya a dime.
Poor Enya.
It's fine.
She was in that horrible Lord of the Rings movie anyway. So.
She wasn't in it. She did a song for it.
So, So you have that ethereal version of My Heart Will Go On at the end, with where it's going through the ship, kind of like at the beginning, where you have like the ship, the real life version of the ship, and then they transition into before the wreck.
Right.
They kind of do the same thing.
They go through the old one, going into the
go
dream
through the
heaven version.
Yep. The ballroom where all of the people who died are there waiting for her because she's the last victim of Titanic, her broken heart.
Do you think Billy Zane was in that crowd?
Probably not.
Think her mom was in that crowd?
I thought you see her mom.
Is it just all the people that died? Like, so if any, so like her mom survived. So it's just
I
people
think it's
who
all
died.
the people that died on the Titanic.
Because you see Mr. Andrews, and,
right?
Yeah,
because you don't see Ismay. You see Andrews. You see.
I don't know if you see the captain or not.
I don't think so. He's probably steering.
Well, she didn't know him, so
right.
I mean, she must have known all these other people. Yeah. It'd be great if it was just Mr. Andrews and Jack. He's like, Mr. Andrews, this is kind of awkward.
Jack, this is kind of awkward.
Yeah, Jack. I like Victor Garber more than you. Please go over there.
But it's such a sweet ending. And without fail, no matter how many times I watch this movie, almost on cue, I start crying when they play Nearer My God to Thee. When the band plays Nearer My God to Thee.
That's a very powerful scene.
I
like that all the music like they're doing. I like all the music that they're doing is like
it's peppy.
It's peppy music. They're like, let's keep people cheery while we die.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Nobody was listening. It's no one listens to us during dinner either.
Yeah. They didn't think the ship was sinkable.
Yeah, I know.
Even the band, but when the band realized it, they played. Supposedly, they played Near My God to Thee on the deck while the ship was sinking. I do also like how you hear the actual song earlier when they're at the chapel.
Yes, for those in peril. Those in peril on the sea.
You know, being from a whaling town, it's a song that has a lot of meaning. Whenever there were ships lost, that was kind of like the. That was the song, so it's a very foreshadowing.
What's this?
Song.
You being proud of the town that you're from? What's this?
I'm just saying.
This magic in the air. What's this?
No. We killed lots of whales. Yeah. Poor Willie.
We didn't kill Willie.
We might have.
You used me, Skinner. You used me.
So, like the music fits so well in this movie. The acting, this year was very tough to figure out a winner.
I think Titanic wins for the Academy because of the scope of the film.
Yeah,
whereas like something like the attention to detail and things like that are all also paid attention to in, say, L.A. Confidential,
right,
or even in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah,
but I think it's the scope of the detail.
Yeah,
and that's
and
where
this was a phenomenon.
Right. Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Like, if you had the same type of thing happen today and it doesn't win Best Picture, I don't know. Because this was not only critically acclaimed, it was beloved by almost everyone who saw it.
Across the world. Yeah. It was unbelievable. Well, I think it's obvious, but we'll say the winner goes to...
The Full Monty.
The Titanic.
Yeah, it goes
the
one
with the boat.
So going into this year, I kind of figured Titanic was going to be it because I've seen most of these movies except Full Monty.
Yep.
And I was like, I love Titanic. I think it's such a perfect movie. But I went into this, I'm like, I have to figure out a movie. I have to pick a movie that's not Titanic to win. And going back, I just can't do it.
There's a big part of me that says give it to Good Will Hunting because I think that film is a perfectly executed film.
Yep.
But like I said, for the Academy, the scope of like as much as I like Good Will Hunting, it's all about the script and the acting.
Yeah.
And in some ways the attention to detail, because it wasn't filmed in Boston, only bits of it were. Most of it was filmed in Toronto.
Are you sure?
Positive.
I think the exteriors are all shot in Boston.
And the park. And
because there's plenty of times that I'm sitting there going, I know that place. I've seen that place.
Yeah, most of it is filmed in Toronto.
Huh.
I know. really. I think you're right that the exteriors are Boston,
and I forgot exactly like what exterior. Oh, where they're at the cafe on the sidewalk, and you have and you have Harvard in the background.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure that's Harvard Square.
Yeah, most of it is but like the internal stuff, like the inside stuff,
right?
That's all Toronto.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think the sheer production of Titanic, kind of like Ben-Hur, Lord of the Rings, all that stuff, even if you don't care for the story of those films, or like you have to appreciate the amount of detail that went into making everything. So when we say best picture, it's the sum of the parts. It's all those categories working together, and Titanic has all of those categories in conjunction. So even if I say like, I think the love dialogue, if that could have been tighter, it doesn't. It's okay. You know,
I think this movie should have won 2 more Oscars than it did, in both acting.
No,
but you're right. Attention to detail in this movie is fantastic. Like, they literally built the ship and sunk it again.
Right.
Like, that's how much attention to detail James Cameron had for this movie.
Right, and just like the sets, the costumes, every single bit of it is correct, or as correct as it can be for a film.
Yeah,
and that's, when you can create something like that without creative license, like without a flair, like I gotta make it my own, but like you make a real historical piece with a fictional component of
because
historical
they've tried it since
fiction.
then.
Oh, yeah. Pearl Harbor is a good example of that. And you like Pearl Harbor,
I really
know.
do.
But Pearl Harbor is a great example of we tried it and it didn't work. And there's something about
Mary.
But there's something. James Cameron is a master filmmaker. Despite what you might think of one movie over another movie, or his opinions about some things or whatever, he knows what he's doing. And so
there's a reason why it takes him like a decade in between movies.
Right. And so I think trying to rush that process along with somebody who might not be as good of a filmmaker, and that's where they're failing.
Are you trying to say that Michael Bay is not as good of a filmmaker?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Only because it's James Cameron will I agree with you, but I do love Michael Bay.
I know you do. And with that, I think they are ready to stop hearing us talk because it's been a long episode. So you can find us.
Titanic size.
You can find us at. It was a Titanic size episode. You can find us at Academy Rewind on Twitter and Gmail. Feel free to write in or tweet at us. You can rate and review us on iTunes. You can find us on all other places like Stitcher and Satchel and Overcast. And Google Play. You are also more than welcome to go to thoughtbubbleaudio.com and check out all other Thought Bubble Audio shows under the Thought Bubble Audio banner. You can also head over to the Thought Bubble Audio Patreon page and get exclusives to all of our shows by donating just even $1 a month. And that is that, my friend. I think they're playing us off.
No, I have so many more people to thank.
Too bad. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so if you still happen to be listening, that was Palmer and Tim talking about the 1998 Best Picture nominees for the Academy Awards. If you like all Thought Bubble Audio shows, you can head over to thoughtbubbleaudio.com and check them out over there, or to Patreon to support us, /ThoughtBubbleAudio. You can also check out Academy Rewind at Academy Rewind on Twitter or on Gmail. You can check out Beer with Geeks at Twitter at Beer with Geeks, at Gmail, and Facebook Beer with Geeks. So you can also go over and rate and review us on iTunes and find us all of the places podcasts can be found. Don't forget to download Academy Rewind's latest season, The 7 Decade, starting on July 1st. Thanks very much for listening. Catch you next time.